Welcome to A Tale of Two Mustangs. We'll eventually get around, I think, to making at least one video with all of the different Mustangs in it. This one, we're starting with the P-51H, the Super Stang, widely regarded by some, many perhaps, as the best prop in the game. This is a pretty pedestrian four-frag match, and interestingly enough, I don't actually play the Super Stang a lot. So I find a lower BR generally more engaging. Um, don't usually go for bombers. That guy seemed pretty oblivious though, and I was actually hoping to bait that Hornet down, which is why I keep looking over at him. Unfortunately, he doesn't take the bait. I'm usually pretty enticing, but not this time. However, he does engage a teammate here. The teammate I mean, it looks like they've got it under control, but two is always better than one when you're dealing with somebody starting from a position of advantage. So I head this way, and I may not have been successful as bait, but we are able to push him to the deck as he realizes that a 2v1 is not where he wants to be. Oh, I'm sorry, no, we don't push him to the deck, do we? I get a reminder of how absolutely cracked the Hornet is at high altitude. And again, the Super Stang, not a bad plane, right? We introduced it, but he's gonna go low here, and then he's just gonna fly away, and there is absolutely nothing I can do about it. So I spread him a little bit, um, and that's nice, but I'm never gonna catch him. I'm not likely to hit him. So eventually, I'm just gonna break off here, and I'm gonna decide to do something else because I would rather put myself in a position where I have to try and reverse him or survive a pass from him later than just continue to fly around and accomplish absolutely nothing and waste both our time. And in fairness, that's exactly what happened to me in the previous match that I played. I've only played two matches in the H to grab the footage here. And the first match, I had a Ta-152H that decided to kind of waste the whole match. And we mutually decided to waste each other's time for the whole match. And the teams at this BR are really something. I don't necessarily feel like what I'm doing in the Super Stang here is hugely impactful. There are matches where it just seems like they steamroll so fast that you never really even had a chance one way or the other to do something. Um, and I suppose when you can count on multiple P-51Hs or some of the other really strong U.S. props at this BR, a lot of times those matches snowball in your favor. But we did actually have Germany on our side this time, but only one Ju-288, so I don't know if you can really call that the full German team experience. The good news is, as you get a little bit lower, closer to the deck, where the P-51 produces its peak power, you can actually do a little bit of energy fighting in the Super Stang. Unfortunately, and this is a situational awareness failure on my part, I have no idea where that LA-11 came from. None at all. And really, flying the P-51H is sort of an exercise primarily in weapon management. You get like 7 minutes or something coming off the runway. It's really not a lot, and the performance of the plane is just okay without it, right? I am off WEP right now, and I have just enough power and speed to lead this LA-11 on a merry chase, but I, I don't think this is the right time to burn the relatively small amount of WEP that I have left. I run WTRTI in the background that keeps track of my WEP. So at this point, I'm under 3 minutes of WEP, right? So I'm trying to be pretty sparing because you can go through 3 minutes of WEP in a single dogfight if you're not careful, depending on how much power you're using. But what I'm doing there is I'm just pushing that LA-11 away. And, I'm sure that they're a good player, but I think they do highlight a challenge with the player base generally, right? This LA-11 is going to fly himself right into the airfield AA. So why he didn't want to work with his teammates, why he didn't want to potentially take a fight with the P-51H after following me around for a little bit, I don't know why he decided that flying into the airfield AA and losing his plane was preferable. to what his alternatives were, but yeah, so that, I mean, he could have very well been the difference in this match. And I don't know. I don't understand why they chose to play it that way. But originally I just wanted to push them away. Anyway, that worked. So I got a free run on the other LA-11. And at this point, this is just classic prosecution of a boom and zoom attack. I don't take the first pass because I'm just going to wait for them to burn a little bit of energy and give me a more favorable firing solution, which they do, and then I'm clear to go in and engage the second one. Now, we're definitely in the late game. They don't have a lot of folks left. They've obviously RTB'd since I can't spot them. The tickets are close, so at a minimum, I figure I'll apply some pressure, even though I don't have a huge ammo load. Unfortunately, there's just a few isolated pillboxes. There's not much for me to go for without bombs, and I'm not a fan of bombs on fighters for a variety of reasons. So as I'm orienting on some other ground targets, I find these folks. That's a J7 Whiskey that's above me, and he's got a TU2 with him. And the TU2's got a lot of guns, flown competently. It can definitely be a threat. And of course, the J7W is, I think, the best player, or pretty close. He's close to the top of the leaderboard for their turn. So I'm telling my teammate in chat that I'm going to try to bring him back towards the middle of the map, separate him, and make a play for the TU2. Because from the standpoint of tickets, the TU2 is obviously the larger threat here. And just from the standpoint of potentially being third-partied while trying to fight the J7W, the T2 is a credible threat. TU2 or Tupolev 2 is a credible threat there as well. So I figure separate them a little bit. That's what I'm doing here. I'm pushing the J7W away, and now there's a nice big gap between them, so I can make a turn away from the J7W to chase down this Tupolev. And there's really nothing the J7W can do at this point, right? Unless I miss the first pass and have to reattack, there's nothing the fighter can do to prevent me or prevent my engagement of the Tupolev here, the attacker. And of course, that's dicey. Anything that's got rear gunners can be a little bit of a problem. But the 50 cals do me right here. I set an immediate fire on the first burst, and I just break off, right? I don't need him dead necessarily. I'm okay with crippled. He actually does drop on some AI targets right there. But luckily this fire sticks, and I get a severe, and I can see that he's flying very poorly. So at this point, good to go. The J7W is, again, closing in on me. I'm not using WEP here. He is closing the distance. But, this is my favorite bait maneuver right here. Very enticing. And now that he's got a BF-109K swinging around behind him. And we decide, we're gonna go out right. Everyone's gonna pop the smoke, and we're just gonna make it happen. I don't manage to get the shot there. The rudder on the H is much better than normal, but those shots are still difficult. It looked like he was gonna cut inside me in the scissors there, so I went beneath him to deny him a firing solution, and I become an inadvertent dirtbag here. I didn't mean for this to work out the way it did. I see some chunks go off his plane here. He goes into a weird spin. I'm assuming that my teammate got a severe. I did not check. My teammate did not get a severe. You're going to see him say aw in chat. I'm going to apologize because that is a jerk move. And had I known he didn't get the severe, I might have still tried to put a burst on him for an assist, but I would not have ganked the kill like that. So my sincere apologies to that guy. Not cool. Moving on here, the second Mustang we have, of course, the D10. And this is a 4-3 to 5-3 match, so it's a full up tier. But the good news is you get most of the performance of the D30 in terms of engine power, so full up tiers don't feel as bad as they might otherwise. And of course, because you are at BR 4.3, you never see the metamobiles from 5.7. And whether you're fighting a Yak 3 or a Yak 3P, it's about the same. Fighting a Yak 3U is something else entirely. So, I think this is probably my fourth match in the D10, and at least two of the other three matches were wins, and it was a little bit Super Stang-like in that the matches were over really quickly. I didn't necessarily get a chance to do much or get involved. So I'm feeling a little bit more impatient this match. And I see that this Wyvern over here on my team is like the Pied Piper, and he's just dragging a group of enemy fighters behind him. They're relatively isolated. So I figure maybe I can actually give up some altitude, even though it's early to mid game, and I can get a few frags here. Maybe I keep my Wyvern in the match. One of the fighters breaks off early, so now it's 2 LA7 and an actual dogfight. Yeah, I don't do this very often, right? So this is kind of exciting. Unfortunately, I can't save my Wyvern. He goes down. And then the other thing that's really interesting here is that the 50 cals let me down a little bit, and they are usually quite good. You can see me bobble the nose around there, trying to fight the rudder to actually get rounds on him. And at this point, I realized like the LA7 is the reversal king. So obviously, what this gent is going to try to do is reverse me. And I've chopped throttle. I'm throwing flaps. I'm doing anything and everything I can to stay behind him, because if I fly out in front of him, that's it. It's a game over. He's got outstanding armament, outstanding maneuverability, great power generation. Like, if I get out in front, I will never get away. I think cut between some trees there and very nearly plowed it into the ground, because the low speed handling on the Mustang is appalling. But I manage it, and I'm now planted on him, and I almost lose him to a friendly, but I put a lot of work in here. I just keep nibbling at him, and I don't think I ever shoot a single engine fighter this many times with 50 cals uh, without having something more to show for it. But anyway, we're going to throttle up, and the fun's not over yet. The risk of getting stuck into a dogfight like that and really committing is, of course, you're susceptible to being third-partied, and that is a Yak 3 in the background. Luckily for me, as the fight has gone low, I've had some friendlies come down as well, and we're sort of now in a 3v1 furball, heavily in our favor versus the Yak. So I pick up a little bit of speed, and I make a turn back into the furball to deny this Yak 3 the ability to just abuse my teammates, because that just wouldn't be teamwork, right? And at this point, we're still trying to make the dream work. This match went really long, so there's a lot here that ends up being sort of sped up and chopped down. But unlike the LA7, the 50s do the job at one pass there, and fair is fair. I actually pull off. I don't intend to finish him. I was going to let a teammate get him, but he makes it into the ground before a teammate can get rounds on him. And I can see the bomber's a little bit high, so this is a question of how risky do I want to be. Working through the pros and cons, eventually I decide to go to the short field with the Wyvern. And I will tell you that when the A7M pops up here with a closure rate that's pretty healthy coming this direction, I puckered a little bit. I very nearly throttled up right here and took off without preparing. But I was low ammo, based on how my shooting and experience with the 50s had been this match, so I wanted more ammunition on board. The trade-off, of course, is now I've got a lot more fuel on board, so I'm heavier. But, what are you going to do? And this is actually me from the other side. I have been this A7, well, not A7M2, but A7M1. I've been the A7M1 a couple of times. It is, in my opinion, an excellent plane, quite dangerous. The A7M1 is actually my most played aircraft and has, I don't know, like a 75% win rate or something like that. Like, it is a very solid plane, very influential, especially if you can bait people into a turn fight. And I actually have a video about that, right? The don't take the turn fight video that just sort of highlights that the A7M with half a tail and one elevator is still a better turn fighter than you are. So I did get a severe there, but since I don't want to feature in one of my own videos, I just make a wide sweeping turn with an intent to dip the area, because I am not going to turn fight that A7M1. I don't care if he's severe. I don't care if he's missing half a tail. I'm not taking that turn fight. And as it happens, that saves my life, because now here's I just think this is like a level 38 crew. I don't have keen vision or whatever it is maxed out, but this FW190 pops up relatively close, and this is an F8, so it's the 5.0, but it's the Anton flight model, really. even if it's a Friedrich. And I'm going to string him along a little bit. And he's another one of those guys that he's got a couple of frags, I think, at this point, and he's playing some mind games with me here. So I like what he does. This is actually pretty cool. He dives down, he puts a little bit of separation between us, and he baits me into making a turn, and then as soon as I make that turn, he snaps back onto me immediately. But I do have a friendly coming in, so I'm now going to lead him on a merry little chase right in front of my friendly. And this is obviously the exact same move I used with the J7W. I've talked about it in some of my other videos. I will just put the friendly on my wingtip and then force the bandit to make a decision about what you want to do. And he's pretty good. He pulls in for the head on here, and I very nearly get got. And of course, if you are flying a 190, then you've got to be sort of the head-on king, because that is one of the engagement profiles where the 190 really excels. And Yak 3 getting it done puts that 190 into the ground. There's a dot on the map, so now I'm looking around trying to figure out what do I hear and where is it, and lo and behold, it's a P-57. This is the relatively uncommon P-47D German Premium, if I remember correctly. I have it from the Dora pack way back, but it's basically the D-25. It's the 4.3 BR Thunderbolt, and it's not a bad plane, but this close to the deck is definitely not its happy place. And happily, he doesn't go for me, but this is another pilot. He's a little bit cagey. He does a nice job with some head games, and to keep him engaged and turning, I take a couple of really high-risk passes here. I think that one actually caught him by surprise. He could have killed me there if he'd got rounds out, but I feel like he made a turn away from the Yak 3 and then immediately thought, who is this guy and what is he doing? Because he certainly doesn't miss the opportunity to get rounds out when we take that second head-to-head fight there. And luckily, I only take the spark, so I got one come in and ricochet, and now he's gonna run. So we're gonna speed things up a little bit. And he had enough energy coming in that he's not slow, but we're both eventually gonna catch him because this is a flight sort of regimen, right, where the Yak 3 and the P-51 are superior to the Thunderbolt, even if only marginally. The A7M2 finally goes down. I get a rank as no object, and that's from my side. That's really it. So great match from the high energy dog fighting, like really exciting. And just on balance, I think flying the D10 is a little bit more exciting than flying the H5. But we're going to play it out to the very end here because you can watch how bad the rudder is on the P-51. I put a huge amount of speed to get in for this engagement, and happy to get the assist there. But if you just look at the deviation, the huge deviation between where the nose is oriented and where I'm trying to point the aircraft, the cursor, and roll it with the keyboards, it's just comical. But there it is, A Tale of Two Mustangs. Hope you enjoyed it. Happy flying.